Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Ryan.
We're full-time RVers, and we are in search of the good life on the road. In this video, we're going to give you an overview of our first 6 months as full-timers on the road, our general expenses, our thoughts on
what we liked,
what we didn't like, and we'll let you know if we're going to continue on the road for the next 6 months or beyond. So we're going to be looking down a little bit. I have these notes right here. There was too much to try and memorize. We don't try and memorize it anyway. So we are going to be looking down at our notes a little bit. But basically, in the first 6 months where we have traveled, we left Wisconsin on December 19th of 2020, and we drove down to Mississippi. Our rig was down there, so we picked up our rig in Mississippi, and that, if you don't know why we did that, I'll link the video explaining why we drove our rig down to Mississippi instead of leaving with our rig, but I did a whole video on that, so I'll link that here. After we picked up our rig in Mississippi, we made our way over to Texas. We spent most of the winter in Texas, sort of all over in Texas, and then we came back up through Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois,
up to Wisconsin.
Back to Wisconsin. So after Wisconsin, after we wrapped up everything, we got rid of an apartment that we had there. We made our way across Indiana and Ohio and ended up in New York on June 19th. So that was our 6-month mark. We're actually in Maine right now at this lovely little
backdrop
quiet.
Here,
oh my gosh, it was hard to find some place where there weren't any people. We had to trudge through the woods to find it. But we're in Maine right now, and we're actually in our 7th month, past our 7th month. We're going to talk about what we did in our first 6 in this video.
On our rig, we have a map of the United States. This is
like a sticker.
Yeah.
It's like a sticker map.
It's very common among RVers. You'll see them in the parks, and the object is to fill in every state with a sticker. So we already had Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois on our map, and we added Texas, Alabama, Ohio, Indiana, and New York. So we've started to fill those in.
And we traveled approximately 4,050 miles in that 6 months.
Yeah. So it's been exciting. It's been fun to do our little map and to see it fill in. We look forward to doing more.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you on screen right now kind of our route, and the trip on the map going south is indicated in green, and the trip back north is in red, and then the continuation to the east is on blue, so you can kind of see where we were. Next up is our favorite places in these travels. My favorite places were Galveston. We did that in the winter. It was a little misty and cool there. We had some nice days, but really loved Galveston and the Bolivar Peninsula, mostly because I love to go shelling, and it was really fun shelling there. It was just a nice vibe in Galveston. I also really liked Austin, and I liked the northeast area of Ohio because it's very Midwest, and we're from the Midwest, so we really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So those were my favorites.
Yeah,
and the Finger Lakes.
And the Finger Lakes,
we went to the Finger Lakes for my birthday week, so I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Some of my favorite places are Arley, Alabama. It was really a unique place. We were there over Christmas, so it was kind of a special time to be there. It wasn't crowded at all because it was cold and Christmas, and most people weren't spending their Christmases in a park. But the area around there was quite beautiful as well. We took some time to explore. And certainly South Padre, again, Chris mentioned Austin and the Finger Lakes, some definite highlights of our travel so far.
So next, our least favorite places. I didn't really care for Victoria, Texas the first time we went through. We stayed at kind of a campground. We won't talk about what campground we stayed at, but I didn't really like it. The second time when we came back north, we also stayed in Victoria, much to my dismay. We stayed there again, but this time we had a really fun experience. So nothing against Victoria, it just happened to be the campground that we were in.
Right.
I also didn't really care for deep South Texas, with the exception of South Padre Island and Boca Chica. We did enjoy that. It just wasn't really what we thought it would be.
It was very windy, and we were there during the winter storm, so that was a couple weeks of really cold, miserable time for a lot of people.
So that also is not the fault of deep South Texas, but it wasn't exactly what we were expecting.
Right.
And then we stopped at a campground in Belvidere, Illinois, and that was, again, no fault of the town. It was just the campground was we had to get out of there.
Yeah, the only other place was for me was Shreveport, Louisiana. Again, nothing against Louisiana. It's just the roads were horrible, and we lost a TV, previous video, but really a rough ride for a number of miles, and caused some issues. So
yeah,
nothing against Shreveport,
we only stayed there for a night, and the stay was fine, but the roads were
really
less
rough.
than perfect. Here's just a few things that we won't forget about our first 6 months,
Good and bad.
both good and bad. One of the cool things that I always remember is going to see the blue parrots down in South Texas near Brownsville. These parrots come in from Mexico at night and they roost, and it was just crazy to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of blue parrots come in.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. We got invited to do that with our friends Calvin and Cindy, who we met down there. So that was a really fun night. And we also had a really good time at Fitzel Winery.
That was up near Lake Texoma?
Near Lake.
No,
Yeah.
that's Lake
Lake
Texoma.
Texoma.
Yeah, great place if you're up there.
Yeah. And so we had a great time. We met our friends Jason and Lisa there for drinks and dinner. And we also, it was a Harvest Host stop for us.
Yeah.
So we really had a good time there. I don't know how to say this without offending people from Texas. We really like Texas, but for us, it's not the place that we're going to be for winters. We don't think. But we were there in the spring, and the wildflowers were amazing.
Beautiful wildflowers.
Once spring rolled around,
Yeah.
of course, they weren't there in the winter. We had some other issues in the winter, but spring was beautiful in Texas, and we really love the people in Texas as well.
A few other things that we liked and didn't like about Texas. One was the buzzard that crapped on Chris's face. Again, the video for that one was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's in our Colorado River
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that, you can just click back and look at our Colorado River review.
Yeah.
That was something.
Chris mentioned Victoria, Texas. There we experienced a great little restaurant called the Cracked Crab. It was just down the road from our campground. Great experience there. They had live music. It was during COVID, and it just felt like the first night where we were able to get out and be with people.
Yeah, so if we went there again, it might not be that great.
Yeah, it
But
sure
that
was
night
then.
there was live country music, and
Yeah.
we ended up staying for a couple hours. It was
Yeah.
really fun.
We did get to see the SpaceX ships down in Boca Chica just before they launched and crashed, but we did get to see those. So
And the
those
beach down there, the beach
beaches,
down in Boca
yeah.
Chica was really beautiful.
driving on the beaches in South Padre, Boca Chica.
We didn't drive on the beach in Boca Chica because we weren't sure if you could, but we
Right.
could have.
Yeah.
That
it's
might
kinda
have
fun.
actually been better than South Padre, because South Padre was really crowded on the
Very.
beach. And the last thing that we won't forget is being infested by ants twice
In Texas.
in Texas. And that, who knows why that happened, but we took care of it, and hopefully it'll never happen again. So I'm definitely going to be looking down right now. I have our RV related expenses for the first 6 months. Now, obviously our expenses have changed from when we lived in a home. We are no longer paying a mortgage or a rent. We've dropped one car payment and insurance for that car. We no longer pay for any utilities or property taxes. Right. Yay! So in exchange for those expenses, we now have RV expenses. Our first category for RV expenses is tolls. We paid approximately $233 in tolls. 193 of that was outside of Texas, and mostly
Yeah.
going through Indiana and Ohio.
The turnpikes.
In Maine. Yeah, the turnpikes. And we spent around $40 or so in Texas on tolls. Our fuel needs have gone from 2 cars, regular gasoline, to 1 truck diesel fuel and DEF for that vehicle. Based on 4,066 miles, we were right around 1,037 for fuel. We paid as little as $2.35, and we paid as much as $3.59 in June. So it's definitely gone up.
Way up.
And, it's gone down, it's gone up, but that's roughly what we were paid. Propane for our heating needs, it was approximately $144. Campground costs. So this is interesting. So total cost for 160 nights was just a little over $2,000, which is an average of about $12.19 a night. That sounds low, and it is, but that's because of our Thousand Trails membership. I didn't add in our annual dues or our big lump sum payment that we put down for our Thousand Trails membership. If you really are thinking about Thousand Trails, I'll do a separate Deep in the Weeds video about Thousand Trails. But that initial number that we paid eventually will pay for itself and as time goes on, and our
Yeah,
campground
in a short
nightly
period of
cost
time.
is going to keep going down. We're paying probably closer to $20 a night, not $12 a night, just because of those extra fees, but it's going to continue to go down. And the more that we use Thousand Trails, the better we are. And we try to use it all the time.
Exclusively,
Yeah, not sometimes there's a place or two that we really want to go to, like Galveston, for instance.
Yeah.
We stayed out of it, but we try to use it all the time and make the most of it because we spent a lot of money to get it. Our average monthly costs for RVing, now I'm not including groceries or anything that we would have paid for anyway, haircuts, that kind of stuff. We would have paid for that anyway if we were in Sticks and Bricks or in RVing. But our RV monthly costs, including campgrounds, truck and RV payments, insurance for the truck and rig, mail and postage service, internet service, not including our cell phones, miscellaneous RV equipment and supplies, storage units, added up to about $1,900 a month. And that's just an average. Some months were way more and some months were way less. This also didn't include any repairs, because that's not a regular expense.
No.
Those were just thrown in, but we'll get to that part too.
So one of the unexpected costs that you have are RV repairs. We've had to repair our refrigerator. As that was being repaired, we needed to have someplace to put our food, so we ended up having to buy a mini fridge.
Which we're still using.
We're still using. We put all of our
4 months later, we
popping
kind
beer
of
in
liked
there.
it. Yeah.
We had to put on new truck brakes. We also had to buy a new TV, as I mentioned, in Shreveport, Louisiana. Approximately for all those repairs is about $3,000. The big one being the brakes in the truck.
Right. We also did some RV upgrades right away before we even really got on the road. When we picked up our rig, it was at the service center down in Tishomingo, Mississippi, and we had new shelving put in. We had them remove our oven and put in drawers in there instead because we didn't need it because we have a convection oven. We installed this cupboard organizer. We removed the bedroom TV and had them put in an armoire there. We added an extra AC unit. We had 2 new truck tires.
Yeah.
We had 4 new RV tires put on, and that total for all of that was about $3,800. So for the RV upgrades and repairs, we're looking at about $6,800. And those won't be recurring costs.
No.
I mean, obviously tires will come and go, but we're not going to build armoires again. You know, these are just upgrades that we felt we needed to get on the road and be comfortable. Another big category is RV gear. We've spent a lot in this category, trust me. We aren't going to share this number because this number depends on too many factors, like the type of rig you have, the type of travel you do, if you already have some of that gear when you start. But for us, this does include some big ticket items that we needed. We needed to buy our RV trailer hitch, of course, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to tow. So that was a big expense. And we also got a toolbox for the back of our truck. We got a tonneau cover for the truck. We got RV locks. We got a water softener. We got an RV GPS. All the way down to the cheaper items like hoses. We didn't have any of that. So it depends on how you camp. It depends on how you travel. That number can be all over the board, but it was a pretty big number.
Yeah, we had to be cognizant too of our weight limit. So these weren't frivolous things. These were things that we felt were not only needed but are practical.
A couple of the things were wants and not needs, but mostly this is stuff that we just really needed to get. You can't drive off in an empty rig. You have to have a few things.
Some of the upgrades we still want to do but haven't yet are lithium batteries. They're quite expensive, about $1,000 a piece.
And you need to buy. We would need at the very minimum 2, if not 4, would even be better. Some people have 6.
Yeah. Another thing we're considering is a dishwasher. Now, it seems just the 2 of us, but we're constantly washing dishes. We don't eat a lot, throughout the day, but it just piles up, and it would be nice to have that little luxury.
It's mostly cups. We use a lot of cups.
Yeah, we do a lot of cups.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a luxury thing, but that's something that we'd be looking to do. Another upgrade would be a MoRide system for our axles.
It's an upgraded suspension.
Yeah.
And that's about $8,000. So we're not jumping to get that done. And some people say it's the best thing they've ever done, and other people say we don't need to do it. Yeah. So that'll be down the road.
We'll weigh that out.
And it's very hard to get into MoRide because they're like
way back.
Yeah, like a year it takes to get in there. So we'll see. And then solar, we're considering solar. Not while we're currently doing what we're doing. I think if we went out west
do a little boondocking.
We wanted to boondock more. Right now we're in campground, so we don't really need solar.
Right.
But we might consider that. And that also is a big ticket upgrade as well. So final thoughts on costs. I feel like it's been a little bit more than what we thought it would be, mostly because of the unexpected expenses. And we just had another one. We're in our 7th month now. We'll talk about that when we do our year wrap up, but we just had another thing happen. And so I feel like it's been a little bit high, but maybe it's just because the first 6 months we're shaking down a new rig essentially. Right. And hopefully those costs will level out a little bit.
Right. Yeah, the
I
biggest thing is expect the unexpected.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of an emergency fund because we could have easily been derailed by now if we didn't have a little bit of an emergency fund. And hopefully we can build that back up and it won't keep draining. So what are our overall thoughts on full-time RVing?
Yeah, the positives. I think some of the positives are just going to the places that we've been, exploring the community, meeting the people, within the campground, within the community, making friends. It's just really great to explore our country and see what we have to offer out there.
I also think it's cool that you've really become an RV repairman. Just learning new skills. You can't, when you own an RV, well, you can, but it's hard. You have to troubleshoot things and you have to just make repairs. And Ryan's done a really good job. I don't do a lot of the actual work, but I'm pretty good at brainstorming solutions to problems. But so that's kind of cool. And for me, I have high anxiety. So this lifestyle sort of pushes me out of my comfort zone. It's very easy to be comfortable in your own home and in your own routines every day. So this really pushes me to overcome any anxiety that I have and just keep moving down the road. So the negatives to full-timing.
Sometimes the RV parks can be a challenge. Getting into them, you get to that spot that you're supposed to be in, you look at it and you're like, how am I getting in there?
He's done a really good job. But also just the vibe at some campgrounds, like the one in Belvedere, Illinois. You just never know what you're going to get. Life is like a box of chocolates.
Right.
Campgrounds, some of them are amazing and some are not so amazing.
Yeah, and the other things, we've had some situations where, again, we've talked about the bug issues that we've had, the ants and the bugs.
We have really big bugs in Texas, really big bugs.
Harsh weather. We've had some storms while we're in our rig come through, and it's
several.
A little nerve-wracking. We've had a couple of tornado warnings where we've had to vacate and go to shelter. Luckily, nothing happened in the area to where we were at, but nonetheless, it gets a little nerve-wracking.
And some of the other negatives for me are moving day anxiety. It's not nearly as bad as it used to be. I'm pretty confident that we have our checklist. We do everything that we're supposed to do. If things go wrong, it isn't because we've been neglectful. We're just doing the best that we can do and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Another thing is health and pet care.
Yeah.
We get our dog groomed. We need veterinary appointments. He had a really bad ear infection when we were in Texas. He needs medications. That's a little bit more challenging on the road, not impossible. Another thing that it's not necessarily a negative, but we never know what kind of internet we're going to have and where we are right now.
We run through pretty much everything.
Yeah, we've used up all our minutes.
Yep. And if you've watched us before, you know that I work full time. Chris does obviously the YouTube channel, so we need to have an internet service.
It's been better than I thought.
Yeah.
But it hasn't. The times when you don't have it is the times where
really
you're like, ugh. And then just getting mail is challenging. We have a traveling mailbox through Escapees, and that's worked out wonderful, but we have to have a place. We have to be somewhere for about 2 weeks so we can get that ball rolling. Amazon is usually pretty good. We can get most campgrounds to accept Amazon packages. We sometimes get a charge for that. And then there's Amazon lockers as well that we've used. So it's not terrible, but it's not as easy as just walking out to your curb and picking up your mail.
Another topic we wanted to explore were thoughts on friendships and families after 6 months. Of course, we miss our friends, we miss our families. We do make pretty good effort of staying in touch with them. As we've said, we've gone back to Wisconsin. My folks are there. I go back
He goes back,
I go back
goes
every
back
quarter.
more.
So it gives me an opportunity to see my siblings and my parents there.
It's hard for me because we have the dog, so we can't really travel together on a plane. We would have to board the dog and all of that.
But our kids live on each coast. Daughter in New York, son's in San Diego. Chris's family's in Michigan.
We weren't seeing them that much anyway.
So we do FaceTime quite a bit and make a lot of phone calls. So we're always in touch with see how everybody's doing.
And I flew out to see our son in San Diego, and our daughter came to visit us here in Maine, where we are right now.
Yeah.
And so we're making it work. And also thoughts on making friends on the road. This was kind of a concern for me. And so I wasn't sure how we were going to meet people. I actually thought that through our YouTube channel, we would meet people, but that hasn't happened. We haven't met anybody. Now, that's not to say I haven't made any connections through YouTube. I've definitely connected online with a lot of different other families, other RVers, also just people that aren't RVers but just watch our channel. But in person, we haven't had anybody come up to us yet and say, we watch your YouTube channel. Well, maybe because we're a very small YouTube channel at this point. But so that hasn't been how we've met people. How we have met people is through our Thousand Trails membership. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but you're staying all in the same campgrounds. There's 180 campgrounds or whatever. So you end up seeing the same people as you bump on down the road. And I feel like people in Thousand Trails campgrounds they just want to meet people. They're a couple or a family, and they aren't traveling with people, so they're really willing to just put themselves out there and talk to you. And we've done the same. I invited 3 couples that I didn't know for cocktails, and I thought, well, they're either going to show up
a great time.
or they didn't, but they all showed up. And so you just kind of put yourself out there. And then we also joined Our Village, which is another way that we've met some people. So that's just an online way that RVers can connect. And so that's been a good resource as well. And then sometimes we just happen to meet our dog. Hi, Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Sometimes we just meet our neighbor. People love our solo stove. I tell you what, that's the inroad to talking to tons of people, because they love our solo stove. So we do talk to a lot of people.
Well, even this morning I was talking to our neighbor, and we're going to see them in the next park we go to. So you just get to talking about where you're heading next, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll be there too, and we'll be sure to look you up. So there's definitely ways to meet people and stay connected.
Moving into the next 6 months, will we do anything the same, or will we do anything different?
I don't think anything differently.
I think we'll just try to make sure that we stay 2 to 3 weeks in each place. There's a few times when we're trying to get somewhere quicker, and we've had some one-night stays. Well, we went from Texas to Wisconsin in 3 nights. We stayed at 3 single nights, and that's a bit much for me. And we just like to kind of get to know areas a little bit better. So I think we'll try to stay on a 2 to 3 week schedule. And other than that, we'll probably do everything just about the same.
Yeah,
I would say.
I don't see any changes.
It's all working out really good.
How long are we going to stay on the road? Do we have an exit plan? I think the answer to that is...
I don't know and no.
Yeah, we really don't know. We don't have an exit plan. What we're trying to do is, again, determine where ultimately we want to be for a winter destination, because Chris isn't super fond of the cold winters in the upper Midwest.
Done.
So we will find a place to have a winter place.
I mean, there's only a few places you can pick, right? To have warm weather. There's Texas, there's Florida, there's Arizona, and maybe I'm dabbling with the idea of the Carolinas, where it's not super warm but also not super cold. I'm okay with 40s, 50s, 60s. I just don't like snow for 6 months out of the year. This is the last week of February, and I just have to run out to the grocery store right now. And it wasn't snowing about 5 minutes ago, and now look at it. It's terrible. And I need to go somewhere where it's warm. This is just, I don't even know how I'm going to get to the grocery store, quite honestly.
So we're going to, explore these destinations and see what kind of rings our bell as we go through there and talk to people.
And also kind of looking for a home base, for just a home base to have. We would like to get back into a condo or buy some land somewhere. And we, of course, we're Michiganders at heart and in spirit and in soul. And we love Michigan, and that's probably where we would look for someplace. But we're not sure, does that make sense to have your home base somewhere where you do get 6 months of winter? So if we wanted to go back for the holidays, how is that going to work? If we buy land, who's going to plow it? How are we going to heat it? All those kind of things. So we don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure those out as we go. But yeah, nothing on the horizon that says we're done. We just figured one day we're going to wake up and go, you good?
I'm good. I'm done.
Time to go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't see us, unless we got forced off the road due to illness, or if we had so many repairs that we just were like, we don't want to spend any more money. I don't see us getting off the road before like 3 years.
No.
So but we'll see.
Right.
Who knows? You never know. Could be 3 years, could be 13 years. I don't know. If you're looking to be a full-time RVer, we have some tips for this lifestyle. The first one is to keep your expectations in check. If you leave thinking that life is going to be fabulous and everything, all your problems are going to be solved when you go full-time RVing, it's not true. Basically, wherever you go, there you are. If you had problems to start, you're going to have problems on the road, and sometimes they might be worse.
Yeah. And along those lines, the honeymoon will end. What I mean by that is when you get on the road, there's a sense of euphoria that, okay, we've done this, we're now out there. But you're not on vacation. This is your home. You have this big buildup and everything's going great, and it still is. It's just a matter of there is somewhat of you come back to realize this is our life. Our rig is our home. It's not a camper. We treat it like our home.
We just have a different backyard.
Yeah,
wherever
every
we
week
go.
or two. We've got a great backyard.
It's home. Yeah, exactly. The next tip is if you're a couple and it's one of your dreams to take off and do full-time RVing and the other person is either not sold on the idea or really doesn't want to do it at all, don't do it. This is teamwork for two people.
Yeah.
You have to be on the same page, and it's so much work, and there's a lot of stress involved. And if it's just one person saying to the other, "It'll be great," it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I just don't think it would work. I don't know.
Yeah, when we talk to people about what we do, that we're full timing, we hear that a lot actually. Like, one person's like, "This is my dream, but I got to get my wife there. I got to get my husband there yet. He's just not convinced, or she's not convinced." So, again, as Chris said, make sure you're both in it.
Next tip: repairs will be needed. Budget for them. You're going down the road 65 miles an hour.
Your house is rocking.
So just budget for repairs.
Another tip is make sure your loved ones are informed of where you are. And not only where you are, but where things are at in the event something happened to you. And we did a video on that, and Chris will share a link with that above there. And it's so important to make sure that your loved ones know your bank accounts, your passwords, your CPA, your attorney, where's your wills and trusts, all the things that are going to be so important in the event that something happens to you or your spouse while you're on the road.
Yeah, and you don't have to, what we talked about in the video, you don't have to give your kids or anybody all your passwords. Just tell them where they are.
Right.
Tell them where they're located.
Safety deposit box.
Yeah, so we didn't say, "Hey guys, these are all our passwords and here's our bank accounts, have at it." We just told them where they are and what institutions we were using. We've talked to a lot of people that they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're living our dream." And if it is your dream and you just can't see how to do it, just keep working at it. Keep saving, keep researching, go on YouTube. There's so much information out there. It took us almost 3 years to get to this point, and it almost didn't happen for us, but we would have kept trying to figure out a way to do it. So just keep your dream alive and keep working towards the goal. I feel like almost anybody can do it, but you might have to make some changes in your life. I mean, we made huge changes in our life in order to do this. So just keep dreaming and keep going for it.
So what's in store for us for the next 6 months? Well, we've already got 5 weeks.
We're done. We're done with this thing.
The trip continues. We've already got 5 weeks into our
next 6 months.
Next 6 months. So we're now headed to New York. We're going to spend some time there. We're going to catch a train and go see our daughter for a couple of days in New York City.
Hey.
Then we're going to go on to Hershey, Pennsylvania. Then we'll make our way down to Virginia. Chris has got family there, her cousin and her family. And now her sister and our brother-in-law are going to be there as well. So it'd be great.
Get to see family on the road.
Yeah. And then eventually we're going to be, certainly after Virginia, we're going to be heading down to Florida. And Florida will be our winter destination.
So we'll see if Florida is the place for us.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to like Florida because I
too.
love the beaches there.
Yeah.
We have never spent a whole winter there, so we'll see how that goes. And that wraps up 6 months on the road, and we're going for another 6 at least at this point. Time absolutely flew by. It went so fast, and we're excited to keep on going. And if you like this video,
give us a thumbs up.
And if you have a second to subscribe to our channel, we would greatly appreciate that. Then we can keep on making content. And we will see you down the road. In this video, we're going to give you an overview.
Be a little bit more. I don't need to.
Well, I know, but you're saying a lot. Favorite places. I don't want to say So next are our least favorite place.
We did get to see Boca Chica.
This next category. Month.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
You're going off script. But there's.
Okay. Jack.
So naughty. So.
Don't say so.
Is there somebody there?
No.
Oh.
How long? Okay. All right.
Sorry. Sorry, we're getting attacked by mosquitoes.